buckle my
What's
shoes.
up, everybody? Back again, Warp Charge Gaming. We are live on Thursday night, episode 50. I'm here with James.
Woo!
I'm George. We are live. I'm at Battlegrounds here in Midlothian, Virginia. You might hear a lot of background noise. We hang out in the store now. At least I'm here pretty much on the, almost practically sleeping here, James.
Yeah.
And we're
That's
seeing,
taking fun seriously.
no doubt, no doubt. Always surrounded by games and gamers. And James is in his cave and his castle, where he always is working on something. Yeah, James?
Always. Actually, it's not just something. It tends to be like 3 or 4 projects at the same time.
Right.
I actually have 5 in front of me at the same time.
Yeah, no doubt. You got that show on show a little bit of that creature caster there, that Slanesh model. I think you just poked it across the screen a little bit.
Oh, that is not Creature Crafter. This is Raging Heroes.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
that thing's sick.
I was touching up the face before we got started.
See,
And speaking of Creature Caster, another one's in front of me is this Zinch Demon. This will be his head.
yeah.
So that's one going down. And then let's talk about GW now. We got Master of Possession I'm also working on. But that's our 40k range. You want to go into the GW AOS range.
Oh, I got a picture of that one. They're not going to see that as well as these. Here's
Hey, I'm just saying, this is all that's in front of me currently being worked on at the exact same time.
Right, so we had Creature Caster, we had that other third party, and we got some Shadespire or some, Underworlds, Warhammer Underworlds Night Vault. There's a Garrick from Garrick's Reavers. And then you're working on the new Chaos Space Marines, the Daemonkin. We got this crazy jetpack with all these flames on it. Pretty sick. It seems like with the new changes in the ITC especially, and just the new changes to Chaos, you're a little bit more hype about Khorne than normal there,
Yeah,
James.
I'm actually not doing this guy for my Khorne list. I'm playing my Khorne list next Saturday. But I'm definitely hyped, and it's not necessarily even GW. I have to give like the biggest shout out to Frontline Gaming, because with ITC and just changing their faction rules,
right?
it changed like the meta more than GW could do with any rules or FAQ, because most tournaments they go to offer up ITC points, use the BCP app, use the uploading list function that they go to. So with all that being said, I'd like to go for best faction. I don't like to consider myself a power gamer, but I do like to consider myself like a good gamer. So someone that actually like takes fun seriously. But I do not go out and buy the next hottest model for any like faction. I only run one faction, which was always Khorne Daemonkin, and then I went into Chaos Space Marines. Still currently sitting at top of Chaos Space Marines because I do have 4 events. Not everyone does.
Respect.
So it's nice for me. But I want to be top of Khorne. That's my real goal. So I'm going to be running my World Eaters. So I'm really excited about that. And honestly, the only change that's in that that was brought with GW is just the fact that I can bring a Thunderhammer now. That's it. The Smash Captures are cool, and now I have a Smash Lord.
Sure. Yeah, they're not. Blood Angels aren't the only ones running around crazy. Man, I'm super pumped for the fact that that they did that. They made the ITC. If you guys aren't familiar, they just recently did a poll amongst the community, particularly in the ITC organizers, the TOs that are out there. They polled amongst them to see what they thought about changing the way the factions work, because they kind of realized that there was a lot of complaints out there in the world about people being upset with people getting best faction without being as pure of a faction player as, say, someone that's more dedicated to the cause. For instance, I guess Sisters of Battle, or there's all kinds of ways to soup up Imperium, Chaos, Eldari, and particularly these type of players that were dedicated to playing just Dark Eldar, or just Chaos Space Marines, or just Demons, or just Khorne, were being sad that they couldn't score for best faction unless they souped their army, because the soups were the more powerful option. Now, scoring is pure, right? It's your all 3 detachments that you bring to the table. They have to be of the same keyword to be able to get a faction specific, other than an overall hierarchy of Imperium or Chaos or Eldari. If you want to be the best Chaos Space Marine player, all 3 detachments must be Heretic Astartes. But what's interesting about that too, though, is that they launched all 4 of the Chaos Gods: Khorne, Slaanesh, Nurgle, and Tzeentch, and you can actually mix Chaos Space Marines and Demons in that cause as long as you share the same keyword of one of those 4 Chaos Gods.
Yeah, and with Nurgle and Tzeentch, you can even go further and throw in your legions that are independent books like Thousand Suns and Death Guard, because they have their own faction. So, like, let's say you want to be best Chaos Space Marine, you still can't bring your Death Guard, even though they have Heretic Astartes keyword, because they have their own faction they're going for. But when it comes to Nurgle, you can pull from 3 books, and it's a soup, but it's a soup all of the same mark, and that's what's like important. And I'm definitely going for that Khorne.
Now, with Tzeentch, you couldn't actually take Chaos Space Marines with Tzeentch. You couldn't, and with Tzeentch Demons, and then also Thousand Suns.
Yes, you can, because as long as everything has the mark of Tzeentch, you're good.
Oh, so same thing with Death Guard. You could be Death Guard, Nurgle, and Heretic Astartes with Death Guard, or with
Khorne and Slaanesh don't have that because their legions that are devoted to those gods are still in Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And you know, James and I actually were having a bit of a discussion this past weekend. We had our 3rd event for our 40k tournament league. Throw up the old flyer here. We're doing 5 events in a row. We're 3 deep. Next week or next month, May 4th, will be the 4th, and on June 1st, I think that's going to be our final one of the season that we're going to do as a team tournament. People have been asking about that, but this was the
team tournaments.
Yeah, I know you go to them often. This 3rd tournament we had, though, was the very first tournament that we had the new ITC faction rules in play. Even though they made an announcement, there was a grace period to it. But we found some contention there, that the fact that if a TO doesn't monitor the list that people put in and make sure that their faction is correct, then people could still flub the system. So there's actually a greater responsibility by TOs now, or we're going to have to go to a more community source situation where everybody has to upload their list so that people can keep each other honest.
And honestly, that's the easiest solution, is just upload your list like a day before. Or even just that morning up before you pair the rounds, because you'll see it right then and there. It can always be edited throughout the event. But for me, being a Khorne player, you have to be all Khorne, and Khorne can't take Psychers. So it's like you can't have a Psyker in that entire army regardless of what detachment you bring. So for me, I better not see Khorne players who out there doing warp time or death X.
Right. I'm pretty happy that I can still play around with Nurglings and change casters with my Khorne army and just go for Chaos Demons. I'm happy that Chaos Demons got their own faction slot as well, and it wasn't just Chaos, you know? Because you can still soup your demons up and not go for one of the main pantheons, but go for Chaos Demons, which I like.
Yeah, and it's still a competitive bracket because demons are very strong still.
Oh, yeah.
They did just win Adepticon. Granted, there was your Thousand Suns Supreme Command in there, but other than that,
right,
it was definitely pure demons. And honestly, he could have won that without the Thousand Suns detachment because of the way he played his list and how great of a player Jim Vesta is.
But he would have to remove the Thousand Suns if he didn't want to fall under Chaos now as a whole, right?
Yeah, but he could still just take 3 Tzeentch Demon Princes. He loses 3 powers, but he'll be still just as good.
Oh, question there. Could he take 3 Tzeentch Demon Princes as Thousand Sun Supreme Command and still be demons?
No.
No.
It was coming from that book.
Yeah. It's interesting. So only if he was going for Tzeentch and went all Tzeentch Demons could he match up Thousand Suns with them. Yep.
And Frontline Gaming, their video cast that they did last week, they do kind of a breakdown of how they came to this conclusion in doing their immediate, and how it's not based off of having more than 51%, and how it's just clean cut. It has to be all the same keyword to be that army. And it's interesting that they didn't even see this as a thing because of their position into being leaders of the community. They don't necessarily go out and play for a faction. They just play to have fun and just make sure the community is alive. Where there's most of the people out there take it seriously because we have all competitive nature, wanting to win. Losing doesn't always feel the best. I mean, even I have had to feel badsies in games, but I've also had losses that were just, I had the best time ever. Great games, great opponents. That you might not care about faction, but for some of us, we want to take a little bit of that pride home and say that we were the best in that. And going to events, you typically want to be the best in something. And then when you take your whole season into account, like getting 4 scores, like I'm already sitting top of Chaos Space Marines, my 4 scores. I know someone's going to beat it, so I'm going to have to update it, but 4 scores are there. So now I'm working on my 4 scores for Khorne before I play the Chaos Space Marines again. And it gives time for all this new information, the big FAQ coming, more mono players, because now these people that are power gamers that are winner at all costs, that will froth to the top, they might be clubbing baby seals at their local events now because they're just going for best faction. And they might take a less powerful list, but this person's now taking a more powerful list. And it's going to be an interesting dynamic how it all works out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, this also at this historical time in the ITC community, they also just for this 2019 season, as for the very first time, made LVO not as highly valued. It's still, of course, worth a lot of points in your ITC season, but they didn't slate it so heavy that when you go to the majors that are more localized to you, be it Adepticon or Nova, that it doesn't outscore everything else just because it is the LVO, you know.
Yeah, but still, those majors with a bunch of people, it still will take into account. But it's a curve. So, I mean, even your small events are going to have heavy weight if you're winning them. So your RTTs are going to matter. Like, if you want to be best in faction, you're going to have at least one first place in your belt. Even for these factions that aren't going to be very competitive, like Imperium, or what is it, the Assassins and Inquisitor, all those people. Like, that's going to be a very small competitive group. But you're still going to probably have to win an event.
Yeah,
man. RTP.
Well, you know, speaking of events, we just mentioned we got these tournament leagues going on here at Battlegrounds. We literally we're doing tournaments every single month, the first weekend of the month, and we have our own kind of, just like you can win a best faction and be the best overall in the ITC, kind of have our mini circuit going on here in the Battlegrounds tournaments that Warp Charge is throwing. But what's exciting is we're about to offer an opportunity where a lot of people are going to be able to score heavily for some ITC points, because Warp Charge Gaming is really proud to be announcing that we're going to be launching our very first major event. We were going to do a GT, and we realized that we were planning for 60 people, and whenever you have 58 plus people in 5 rounds, that equals a major status. So we're going hard, and right here in Battlegrounds, we are going to team up with our one of our kind of brothers from another mother crowd here, the Coastal Wargaming crew. They're teaming up with us in Battlegrounds, and we're going to do a 64-man event on July 21st, I think 20th and 21st, Saturday and Sunday. And dude, I could not be more thrilled. It's going to be the first event of the 2nd season. We plan to, all for the years to come, continue to do 2 seasons a year in the first and second half of the year. And I just couldn't be more thrilled, man. We're going to have a 64-man event. Hell, maybe might even get you and Robles to drive out from Chicagoland, huh?
Hey, if Robles is making the drive, I told him I'll co-pilot.
Robles! Oh, man. It's going down, y'all.
Looking at the Coastal Guys' logo, they're WCGs in the wrong order, bro.
That is funny that we share the same letters, huh? I'm telling you, we're in the brothers from another mother. What's tight, man, is Battlegrounds just keeps on getting upgraded. I just sent some pictures of the thread. I'll show our friends at home. You can see they just added a 76-inch TV. There's TVs all around the spot now, like a sports club kind of thing, but we're running all of our ads. Here's Worlds Overrun, the one we have a licensing agreement for Table Top Alchemy, our 3D printing company. Here's an ad for the live talk show we do every week. So I just love seeing our own custom advertisements popping up on screens, and showing all of our sponsors like Death Ray Designs, Best Coast Pairing, Crystal Fortress, Game Out of You. It's pretty badass. This month is actually pretty damn crazy, man, because we are doing 4 tournaments this month. We just did the Warhammer 40k tournament. This weekend is this Saturday will be Kill Team Commander, and you guys can tune in from noon to about 5-6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We'll be streaming all 3 matches live like we do for each of our tournaments. And then the very next day on Sunday, I'll be participating in my very first Age of Sigmar tournament. So I'm super stoked to play Age of Sigmar in a tournament fashion. We're going to be streaming all day. We're partnered up with Oscar Lars Painting Studio, badass painter. Go check out his Instagram if you want to see some of his works of art. But yeah, it's going to be, it's the first time so far they haven't been running their Age of Sigmar events as ITC official. Super pumped to have our ITC token ready to go in Best Coast Pairing, and looking forward to building our community in the Age of Sigmar frontier, partnered up with Oscar. And then the week after that, James, I'm going to be hosting our very first Age of Sigmar Champions tournament.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pre-constructed deck. I actually, when I was on the quest to get cards for Adepticon for Champions, I found players that I didn't know existed. And we all looked at each other like, oh, you play? And oh, I didn't know that people actually played this game. Hooray! And we all started trading cards, and now we're playing, now we're gonna have a little tournament event. I'm sure it'll only be about 6 to 8 people, but looking forward to getting that off the ground and running. It's gonna be sweet. James.
Yeah.
Dude, I was checking through Best Coast Pairing. Freak about Best Coast Pairing. Love it. Huge proponent. It makes tournaments running easy.
Can I intervene real quick
Please,
before you say
please,
what you're going to say?
Please.
All right. I don't mean to shit on other people. I believe competition is great. But when we were at Adepticon and we were in the Kill Team event, there was another company that tries to do what Best Coast Pairing does. And they had so many problems. And they went back to the old Excel format. And it was just Kill Team, a couple pods, nothing crazy like the 40k champs.
Yep.
And BCP guys, there weren't app developers before this app. They have bootstrapped this whole thing, which is dedication to the community, working with the ITC guys, and now they're like supporting so many other different game platforms. Like, if you're not paying for BCP, it's like not paying for Battlescribe. That's just like a criminal act.
Yeah, I mean, especially how affordable they are and all the value that it gives you.
Dude, just the value and like looking at events and looking at other people's lists.
Yeah.
And as these seasons go and the faction races get tighter,
yeah,
like, you can look at what's going on and study what they're doing and like figure out, okay, this is what I need to tweak in my game, and this is why they're finding success and I'm not.
I think that's even more reason why I really hope that it becomes mandated that people must upload their list. It's not just about, you know, whether someone's cheating or made a mistake on their list or anything like that, or even mainly just for the community as a whole to be able to have an insight and grow. And another big hats off to Best Coast Pairing for coming up with an amazing algorithm system that got previewed for the first time at LVO, where they were able to give the data of exactly like what units a faction would bring on the majority, or what was the least unit, you know, our models played, and you know, what was the most average mix of point split between detachments. Just all that data is so sweet, and the fact that they figured out a way to actually analyze that and present it back to the public, we give support for sure.
Dude, it's giving like content creators like extra like videos like that they can make content on. Like Almost Pro Gaming, I believe, is the YouTube channel. Like every month he breaks down the top 10 armies.
Yep.
And what list won the tournaments, and goes in order from the least to the best, and he just takes all the majors and all the GTs and takes their top 5 winners and figures out who's the top 10 factions. Mm-hmm. And gives a great little breakdown of each one and their lists and how he thinks they run their list, and it's like an hour-long video, but he wouldn't have been able to get that data otherwise.
Yeah, totally. I'm really thrilled that just this crossed my mind that Kill Team is actually coming to ITC as well, finally. So I'm very happy to actually be able to compete for best factions and best overall inside that. You know that I was on just yesterday, you guys might see it, it got posted today. I was on an interview with Glass Half Dead, Kill Team exclusive podcast based out of the UK. And he was telling me all about Warhammer World, because it just had a Kill Team Arena event at Warhammer World. And Elliot, that won the most overalls, 3 overalls at Adepticon and won Nova, he actually flew out to the UK to play at Warhammer World and won that as well.
He's a monster.
Yeah, a monster. He did it with the Servants of the Abyss. I believe that's the...
I don't even know what that is.
I think it's the expansion for Blackstone Fortress. I think it's those cats.
What?
Yeah, I think it's some Blackstone Fortress cats. I am not familiar with them either. They wouldn't allow the Servants of the Abyss at Adepticon. We had some interesting conversations with the Glass Half Dead guy, because there were certain things they were doing at Warhammer World that is not traditional amongst other major events. For instance, they would allow the expansion cards at Warhammer World, James.
Yeah, no, I listened to his thing, and man, it's pretty crazy. They allow everything, and then they also change like a raw rule.
Yeah, there were some rules that were very like either quite obvious, you know, the way it was written, it's like, yeah, this is the way it makes sense, but yet because it was still kind of like should it work that way? Like the rules as intended didn't feel right. People asked about it at Warhammer World, and the TOs were also, the game designers were present, ruled the other way. And that was things like the veteran move in Arena allowing you to open doors or not, or whether you can open a door when there's an enemy model on the side and you make a normal move up to the door. It was all pretty interesting, so you guys should go check out that Glass Half Dead interview.
Dude,
go ahead.
My favorite part about that interview, considering I am like a Kill Team newbie, is I didn't even know about like wounds to like flesh wounds that then take you out of action. I didn't know anything about that. I just took motherfuckers out of action. You know? That's just how it went. But you guys were talking about 3 or 4 wounds, and like you blew his mind. You blew his mind.
That was really funny. That was really funny.
Purple smoke crack out of his skull.
It was really funny because I know that I have had this smoke come out of my head too quite a few times. Honestly, it's thanks to our viewers, man. Like, I wouldn't have near as many, a lot of the insights that I was dropping on his interview was things that I had learned from people telling us otherwise from the comments on our videos. So if you're watching out there and you've ever gave a comment that got me seeing how to play the game in a more accurate way, thank you very much. Man, but dude, it's been really awesome. This past 40k event, I've been running corn. Here's a look at the army I just got going on. I just got 90 bloodletters. I have 120 bloodletters now. I ran 110 my list along with 18 Nurgling bases for a 72 wound screen.
So awesome.
Super fun, dude. Scarbrand, the Demon Prince with the Skull Reaver Axe, Skullmaster on a Juggernaut with the Crimson Crown and Rage Incarnate Warlord trait, the Skull Taker. And dude, I learned in my game against Chris that I think I've already posted it online. Maybe I haven't yet. I need to post. I got lots of videos, guys, on the back burner. I got a ton of editing to do for Adepticon. Mad hours to drop. I just interviewed Necron Chuck, who got 3rd with Necrons at LVO and also did well at Adepticon. So
you won a pod?
Yeah, won a pod. There's a lot of content that needs to be put out by old Warp Charge.
No, the pod, he beat you. You got to add that.
Yeah. I did get to play against Chuck, and he took me down. I got to play against Elliot, and he took me down. Those were some awesome games. Some of my favorite games of Kill Team I've ever played. So looking forward to that, man.
I think your favorite game was when I took you down for my very first game.
Yeah, that was so much fun.
You got to play with me.
Right, that's fair. And
on the wolf board for the first time.
That's what I was gonna say.
Black Templar.
Good segue.
With your Gellerpox.
This is all true. This is a good segue.
That should be your favorite game of all time. It was me whooping your ass.
It was damn close, James. I got the picture of the Space Wolf board right here. When I got to James, it was the first time I got to see the Space Wolf board in person. Now the Space Wolf board is living here in Battlegrounds and gets to have its Space Wolf army that James painted up presented on it. It was awesome. The Space Wolves are very special to me. 1, James painted this whole thing, but 2, because it was a part of the creation of Warp Charge Gaming. We got this army as we developed the whole idea, and it was going to be our first means of content, is to be able to showcase the army as it goes along. You guys can watch back a 1.5 years ago and actually see the unboxing video when all that shit arrived at my house. I was so pleased. In addition, I just pulled it up by accident, but we picked up a bunch of our 3D printed terrain from Worlds Overrun designer that James had painted up and printed, and we now have that showcased here, and we just featured that at our tournament this past weekend for 40K. You guys can go back and watch all of the tournaments we've ever presented because we filmed them all. So you can go back and actually see the bat reps with us playing on that terrain. It's a lot of fun. It's very functional. Hit us up if you guys are interested at all in getting some of that in your possession.
The giant building in the middle can be a pain to work around as far as like you could lay some traps if you're an assault army.
Yeah, the terrain takes a little bit of, I actually have it right behind me right now. Yeah, I can take a little bit of agreements before the game began. I've played a few different ways with the Thorn Hives of like, all right, it's going to be a hill this time. No, you can't go through it. Yes, you can see through it. No, you can't. But that's fun about the terrain. It's diverse and it's abstract because it's so alien.
Yeah, and the way the levels work, they kind of like seamlessly go up where it's like, that could be a hill? Or is it a building where I can put this guy on the 2nd floor? I don't know.
Exactly. Yo, so I practiced last night. Didn't film it because again, all my buddies here at Battlegrounds that I have a skewed community of painted models versus unpainted models. But I had a killer game of practice last night with Tzeentch. I'm going to bring Tzeentch to the Age of Sigmar tournament. I just got this image up, and that's the only reason I'm mentioning this. But of course, Blades of Khorne. Khorne has a new book as well. Couldn't decide between the two. I've been playing Khorne so much with 40k. I decided I want to play Tzeentch in the tourney. The mission, it's pretty wild how the missions work out in this tournament, man. They roll a D3 for 3 different D6 tables from the core rulebook and the general handbook rulebook with 12 additional secondaries that you can pick 3 of, but they cannot be the same 3 throughout the entire tournament.
Too much. I'm too drunk. Can't think of that way.
So pretty interesting. Last night I have this like summoning Tzeentch list, and it like spams the board with a ton of bodies. But it did, like, we rolled a mission last night that was about 3 objectives on the center line of the board, and the only thing that could score the objectives is characters. So here I have hundreds of bodies. I summoned like 1,000 points worth more of horrors onto the board, but they didn't matter hardly at all because all that matters was characters being on the objective. So it was like such a tight, close game, dude. It was nuts.
But can't you summon characters?
Yeah, you could summon characters, and I actually didn't think about that until it was a little too late.
That's what I'm saying. When missions get too crazy, man,
yeah,
you just forget about things because it's either too late or you're too drunk, and it's just you can't hold it together.
Yep. God says he's bringing his Nurgle on Sunday. I've seen him play a lot of Skaven. I haven't got an opportunity to play Andrew yet, as I've just began my Age of Sigmar quest or career, or however you want to say it. I love it though. I'm hooked, and I can't wait to get an opportunity to play more people in the community and in my first tournament. So really looking forward to that, man. It's gonna be sweet.
I really want the AOS power gamer to come and just hand it to you.
Nah, dude, I want to hand it to the Age of Sigmar power gamers, dude. I want to be that new guy that they're like, oh, I'm going to fight this scrub, and then they get wrecked, son.
Yeah?
Yeah, maybe not Andrew, though, because he's a nice guy, but anybody else that thinks
nice guys got to learn a lesson.
You heard him, Andrew. I'm sorry. I got to take you down, bro. Got to take you down. Tzeentch versus Nurgle it is. Yeah, man. So that's a lot of the ranting that I wanted to do, James. Thanks for letting me take up a lot of breath.
Dude, it's cool, man. It's really cool.
I got a little segue here with this picture. See if you can see it on the back end. This came from the internet, and I thought it was funny as hell.
I'm just trying really hard to not talk about chaos.
Right? Well, you know, James, I think maybe now's that time where we talk about chaos a little bit.
We can talk about chaos? Are we allowed to talk about chaos, guys?
I'm going to throw up a picture of your latest works in progress here. Tell us about these guys as a segue, the guys with the wings and shit.
There's a guy with a wing.
Dark Apostles?
So one is a converted Dark Apostle of Khorne, World Leader style, but it's from an AOS guy. He was in the first starter kit that I just now learned is out of production. So I don't even know how you get that dude, but he's on the Battle Tome cover. So I don't know. He's cool, but he's my Dark Apostle. I think he was a very easy, simple conversion before the model was released. And then the other guy is a new Chaos Space Marine sculpt that I cut off the chain axe and added a Thunderhammer from the Space Wolves. And then Gamma Kami Melta, because I just think it's so cool to drop in, melt to something, and then charge it and just blow it up with your hammer. And, man, having my own, like, Smash Captain is so cool, especially because vets, we all get it. It doesn't matter what Legion we are, where Imperium has to take it through Blood Angels, to get the +1 to wound. Well, I can give it to any Legion. And then the fact that I take it as World Leaders, I get that extra +1 attack. So coming with quite a few attacks with the rerolls, extra +1 to wound, flat 3 damage. It definitely ate up 5 destroyers in one swing of combat. Okay, quite nice.
I got an image here of that giant terrain piece. Is that something you're going to be utilizing, James?
I don't know what piece it is.
The big thing is like the size of a knight. The giant like warp tower deal.
Oh, that's not even mine. That photo I grabbed offline, and I was just I haven't seen that gate in person, and that was the first time I seen someone show it up next to a knight, and I realized how big it is.
It's huge.
Like, dude, the fact that that gives you a 6-inch bubble in the start of the game that is 5-up invul to all your chaos models, and then every turn it grows an extra 3 inches. And then you re-roll all psychic tests, so like not just failed, but all of them. So let's say you hit that 6-1, and you don't want to be denied the witch. You can roll that extra 1 and figure out what you're gonna get. Huge fan of that thing because I did run my Dark Apostle in a test game, and as far as my corn list, and I take that spell where you give the 5-up invul for models within the bubble, and it failed once. It failed. I was like, holy shit! Like I was not expecting me to roll a 1 and fail that. And I didn't have my 5-up invul. It didn't really matter that turn, but for 100 points, I could also have that thing, and it never fails. And I get psychic buffs, and if you're a psyker, an enemy psyker within 24 inches of it, and you roll any doubles, you're suffering perils. And since I have Chaos Demon's detachment, I can give you 2d3 mortal wounds.
So is the struggle with that piece is the fact that it takes up a detachment as a fortification slot?
That is the biggest struggle with that piece, but with my current list build, like I could easily do that and just lose the command point.
You know, one thing that's I was starting to stroke my chin upon is the new corn altar, the skull altar that comes for Age of Sigmar. That's something you can take in 40k as well for 100 points, and that's summonable.
Yes.
So I was, that made me like it way more than I ever had. You know, I wouldn't even, as far as taking up a detachment and losing all those command points, it was just like not really a thing. You know, that's also a thought for the new FAQ coming. I think that's one thing I'm hoping to see in the big FAQ is a update to fortifications. What do you think?
That'd be nice, but I don't think it's going to be touched. I really don't. As far as all the rumors about the changes with the FAQ, I'm really interested about the fly keyword because of the fact that one of the specialist stratagems with the new Vigilist book, if you're a Raptor or a Warp Talon detachment that becomes a specialist detachment, when they charge over a unit, that unit then suffers mortal wounds. I don't know if you have to roll for it or not. I didn't really pay attention. I don't run those units to think about that detachment in like my first impression of the book. But you can't charge over models because you don't have the fly keyword in the charge phase, and this book just came out. Right. And then I've heard rumors that they're bringing it back.
Oh.
So if the fly keyword works in the charge phase again, that's going to open up a lot of interesting dynamics as far as like my monsters being able to charge out of ruins again, jumping over people's screens now that I do have a smash captain. It's going to be really interesting how they do that. And then I've heard flyer bases no longer count as like blocking somebody.
I like that. I think that's
you can just move right over them. You just can't stop on them.
Yeah.
So that's huge because that was like one of the best things when you ran multiple flyers is you can screen with them and not have to invest in points and also a screen, because turn 1 your flyers can screen everything out midfield and then maneuver around doing what they needed to do. And that being a huge factor, I mean, bikes like jet bikes, now just Chaos Space Marine bikes, Blood Angel bikes, White Scar bikes, all those different bikes, they're just going to go right over those bases. And they can get into people's backfields if you're running flyer lists. And I think it's a great way for them to handle the Eldar flyer spam. And then Ynnari is getting their nerf in the White Dwarf, and I heard that's going to be really devastating for them. So
I'm curious about that one for sure. I feel like it's going to be a double-edged sword where it's, you know, they're gonna hurt them one way but give them a new benefit too. They'll be like a, you know, here's your, put a little sugar on top of that salt kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be more of a lime.
Tequila.
Exactly, man. It's like if you're a real high card like Ynnari, like knife ear player, like you're still gonna play your faction. But if you're a power gamer, you're gonna evacuate ship.
Yo, what's up with the not tided traders, but the forward operatives for Alpha Legion?
Yeah, so I've gotten into this debate with a lot of people on the internet. So in the new book, they updated Tide of Traders, and they made it sure it's only a once a game. So completely different way that stratagem is worded and compared to the first book.
Right.
So then you go through looking at all the different stratagems. Forward operative for Alpha Legions did not change, even though that's been FAQ. But the FAQ is still up. So some TOs are saying, you know what, like the points on the obliterators and the newest rules are 65. They updated this book all the way. We're letting it fly. Then there's other TOs that are like, nope, we know it was an oversight by GW. Obliterator is still 115 points. The FAQ is still up. This is not allowed.
Okay. So when they came out the new books, it had the old points cost before they were updated, and it had the old way that forward operas are written, unlike the, and so, you know, obviously we've seen before from GW that they put things in writing and keep it that way for well in before it ever comes out. And so likely, just like when the Space Wolves got their warlord traits, they weren't their correct warlord traits, and we had to like get a free PDF to see our warlord traits.
And I really feel we're just in that weird timing because GW is doing things based off their company, not based off the community players. So they're just doing this like, oh, we're getting this big FAQ out. That's why we haven't seen a Vigilus FAQ, Chaos 2.0 FAQ, a Shadow Spear FAQ. We haven't seen any of that because it's all going to be in this one big FAQ. So I think it's all that's going to be updated and it's going to be in clear. But as of right now, depending on your TO, because their word is law at their event, you can either have Alpha Legion infiltrating possessed that are super Saiyan buffed and just destroy everyone turn one, with obliterators coming in at only 95 points, or you can play in another tournament where you wouldn't dare bring a list like that because you're spending 115 points per obliterator, and your Alpha Legion only get to move 9 after you deployed them on your deployment field.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, what's so wild is just like when the big FAQ #2 came out, you know, we all have our anticipation for just that one particularly, just like the overall big FAQ, but then they always typically will hit every other book too. I remember there was almost every faction book got hit with at least an update from whenever that one big FAQ launched. So for the folks out there that don't just look at the one FAQ, make sure you check the dates of the updates on all of the codexes, because you could find all kinds of little diamonds that they add in to either just Chaos in itself or to a Vigilus book or whatever.
yeah, and I had a friend point out the forward op thing, and he was like, it's not in the Chaos Space Marines FAQ, it's not in there. I'm like, dude, it was in the big FAQ. You got to scroll down on page 4. Like, if you don't know your rules well enough, you don't see those things hidden. You just assume one way or another.
Yeah, yeah, historical times, and also, I mean, it's just as thrilling and exciting for Kill Team players and Age of Sigmar players, because we all kind of get hit at the same time. So really looking forward to seeing what kind of comes out on this next one. Any time now, huh?
They said it by the end of the month, so basically leaves us these next couple of weeks, and. I think with them having the Warhammer World event, getting data collected from that, I think Battle of Salvation's also this week, BAO or something. I mean, there's quite a few like majors still going on. They probably are collecting data from, because I know that they look at BCP. I know that they're paying attention to the community. I mean, they're a different GW now. They're not like whatever we say is law. They believe like the community has like its own lifeblood now, that they just need to maintain it.
And they have some humility to their own selves when it comes to, you know, hey, we can't see all the things, and you guys play more than, you know, we can play test it. Honestly, when you exponentially have the rules that they put out played by, you know, thousands of people, surely we're not at millions of people playing Warhammer. What do you think?
Nah, I don't think millions, but there's definitely millions of collectors of the models, but not players.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, I'm sure it's had that kind of amount of people in the hobby. But yeah, at this current time, if you were to make a guess, man, how many people do you think? Anybody that's watching right now, I'd love to hear from you on how many people you think play Warhammer right now.
Well, I believe that in the ITC alone, it's over 17,000 people.
Okay. Okay.
So that's just ITC.
Yeah.
And that is a small chunk, because when you go to talk at like some tournaments that are not ITC tournaments, and you play those people that are packed events, and you ask them, and they're like, no, I don't play ITC tournaments, but I play a tournament every weekend.
Half a million, James? What do you think of 500,000? 500,000.
I don't know about that many.
That seems pretty. Seems like there's like millions and millions of people, right? We're in the billions of people.
Maybe I'm probably that many if you think about just home games, no event goers, no like club night goers. Yeah, I could probably see that.
It seems reasonable, I think.
Yeah, but as far as like active like players that play on a month by month basis,
yeah,
I bet it's in like the 50 to 75,000 range.
That's interesting because you know there's video games out there that a shit ton of people play, right? Like way more than that, yeah.
Yeah, but they can get a console and then they have the console and it's only $60 to play a new game and then they're downloadable content. Where this, I mean, you're looking at least the $300-400 for an investment in a starter army.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that was an interesting thing from that Glass Half Dead interview. He was talking about just like the commitment level that someone has to have to play 40K over Kill Team, for instance, is just like is a much bigger leap. So when you go to a Kill Team event, you can end up playing someone that's a lot more fresh to the hobby and just tabletop miniature wargaming as a whole than you do when you play in a 40K event, because there's already so much initial investment that goes into them even getting to that point, not just financially, but emotionally and with their effort and time, you know?
Yeah, because that rounded number I threw out is just bare plastic, not counting the glue, the time, the effort to put everything together, and the paint to put on it. It gets a little crazy, man. I think my army alone is easily $1,000, not including the price tag I would charge to paint it.
Yeah, Michael out there says he figures that like 5 to 10% of all players probably go to events. That's, you know, if 17,000 people participate in the ITC, and that's only about 10%, then yeah, what's that, like 170,000? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's just ITC, not just events, though.
Yeah. Yes, that's fair. It's a curious number because obviously GW is able to sustain quite an empire off of this small player base and relative to, say, sports or say video games, you know.
I definitely feel it's growing at an exponential rate that can support a community like those gamer communities. It's just a lot of logistics. I mean, as you were talking about the Half Glass Dead interview, is GW's like streaming team is like a 6-man team with tens of thousands of dollars into equipment, right, just to film one game. And when it comes to like big tournaments like esports arena style, everyone's being filmed, not just one game.
Right.
And then you have your color commentating on all these different events. And it becomes logistically very difficult. But with enough support of very intelligent people that play this game, we'll figure out those hurdles. Because, I mean, it's a very old game, but the way times are changing, technology is going, these models are being created in a beautiful fashion. Like, it's gaining more people's eyes.
Right.
And with games like Kill Team, it's a great entry game because I was so impressed, and I'm still impressed by how Adepticon's terrain was, how people's little kill teams like were painted. I mean, I didn't even come close to winning Best Painted there.
I mean, there was some good stuff. I kind of thought you were in the more than in the running.
The people that won, I didn't even get to see their armies.
Right.
So it's like, man, I saw some ones that like, maybe this one or me or maybe that one. And it's like, no, not even the people I was thinking. So these people had their shit like in a case, not showing nobody until the game was starting. And like, they had to be just damn gorgeous.
Yeah, no doubt. You know what is crazy, James, and just to mention to our friends at home, because you might recognize this, but you know, speaking of just kind of GW games and growth and everything, I was blown away by the message by PlayFusion. They just put out a $100,000 prize pool event going on for Age of Sigmar Champions. So
dude,
it's crazy.
Game that nobody plays?
No, everybody plays virtually. But they pump some effort into getting people to play this game, man. I mean, dude, 100K. I mean, they had their the same like setup. They brought like a PlayFusion team to Adepticon, and that same team got me hype on the game and into it in at Nova. I'm hearing a little bit of echo. I don't know if it's on your end, James.
I have headphones in and no other sound, so I doubt it's on my end.
It's probably my fault then. But yeah, dude, 100,000 bucks. There we go. I fixed it. 100,000 bucks worth of prize support in a Gen Con. I guess where 60,000 some gamers go out to. I'm pretty curious about Gen Con because just people talk about it like it's the mecca of all gaming conventions, even though it's not huge around tabletop wargaming.
Yeah, because they have a 40k tournament there, but it doesn't even it classifies only as like a small GT.
Yeah, that's where like my appeal falls short, you know.
Yeah, same here, but it's not very far. It's just in Indianapolis.
Really?
So for me, it's like a quick drive.
Well, dude, you could go there just to play Age of Sigmar Champions because there's $5,000 on the line, dude. To the winner of Gen Con Age of Sigmar Champions, $5,000 in your pocket, bro. I'll send you my Scarbrand deck.
Dude, and you already know I'd win because I've already whooped you so many times.
Oh, don't even. I've challenged you, and you just did not accept challenges any longer.
Dude, I don't play the game any longer, dude. I only played it just so I could beat you, and then I did it.
Guys, don't listen to James. He's a son of a bitch.
That might be true. I don't think anyone's going to question if my mom's a bitch or not. Like, definitely falls under that category.
I was just saying you're a son of a bitch, but sure.
Hey, I love her still. She's still my mom, but man, bitch is a bitch, poor rich.
What can you do? Well, I'm trying to jump back to our actual live show here after I screwed up YouTube, because just see if anybody has anything to say. We're getting towards the end of our episode here. It's only been about 45 minutes though, James. Maybe there's probably a lot more to talk about Chaos.
Dude, I could talk about Chaos for hours right now. Like, there's just so many hidden combos. So, I came to the conclusion that the best Legion trait in the book is Purge. So, George, hear this out. Their Legion trait is if you inflict a wound on a unit, you now get to reroll all hits against that unit with all models with that tactic. So, basically, any model that's from Purge gets to reroll hits against the model that does the wound against that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, what you do is you bring like Derrideros or Contemptors, and you get to shoot at things and like split shoot and allow yourself to just re-roll hits and not have to worry about a Lord or anything. Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
And that's just your Legion trait. And then they have a stratagem that came in the Vigilist book. And this is not a specialist attachment. This is just a Legion trait. Their stratagem is only 1 CP. And you're allowed to shoot at, with a Purge unit, enemy unit that's within 1 inch of one of your models.
Oh, cool.
And that's only 1 CP. Now, granted, with an unmodified hit of a 1, you do damage onto your own guys. But if you're in combat with, like, say, cultists or poxwalkers, who cares?
Sure.
So it's one of those things where you can be very assaulty charging into people and just wreck with that. Or they do a gun line of those Contemptors, and let's say for someone like me as an assault army, I want to tie up things like Plague Burst Crawlers or Leviathans that they may have in front of those Contemptors, and now they can shoot at me in their turn and then free up their model to then shoot that model at something else. It's pretty nasty. Like, it's just a matter of fitting your points in. But I feel that a lot of Chaos gamers are going to have an attachment of Purge with some type of Dreadnought shooting platform. Okay. Because with Renegade detachments like Purge, Red Corsairs, Crimson Slaughter, legions like that, they don't get access to Veterans of the Long War because they're not from 30K.
Okay.
They're just renegade detachments, so they don't get that stratagem. So you don't really want to use your infantry in those type of detachments for the sheer fact that your infantry won't have access to the best strat in the entire book. But when you have Dreadnought platforms, who cares? And you just get the best of all worlds. So I feel a lot of people are going to have some Purge attachments doing some nasty work into people. Also, Gordito mentioned about they want to make Slaanesh good. Slaanesh got so good. Like, with this update, just for the sheer fact of you can have a flawless Demon Prince now, doing on average 22 or 24 damage on a night with its exploding 6s, which can be exploding 4s with the +1 hits you can do on them. Some pretty gross stuff.
I think I saw someone, I think it was GW, or there was some sort of Facebook post where it was like, from the playtesters, it was like, hint, hint, 3 keeper secrets. As if that was like something really good about the new book.
It's really good now, like just in general. The only other Chaos Space Marine player at Adepticon that did better than me ran 2 Keeper of Secrets with his Iron Warriors. And it's just how their stratagems work, their spells work. And that's why I'm saying Slaanesh is so good, because you can take that flawless Demon Prince and have a Slaanesh detachment, and then have access to something Frenzy. It's one of their spells that allow you to fight again in combat. Like if you're within an inch, it allows you to fight. So like that's normally 3 CP for other army, but for Slaanesh it's a spell.
Oh,
so you throw that Demon Prince up into like multiple units, and it has all these exploding attacks. Where now it's like you don't care if you tie yourself up, because the next round of combat you're going to be rolling in all these extra things that fight again, and then explode all those attacks again, and then you have access to fiends that you can either summon or just charge up, because they all go so fast. And the aura, the loci for demons is to advance and charge. So now you're putting this loci onto all your Chaos Space Marine units that have the demon keyword. So your Demon Prince now has the ability to advance and charge, and then you throw warp time into that, it gets extremely gross.
Wow.
And then you have your Master of Executioner that has exploding damage, that he can fight again with, he gets a stratagem with Emperor's Children where his 6s do extra attacks. And if he's Emperor's Children, he always fights first. And then you can have other Slaanesh demons always fighting first. And what a lot of people don't realize is they have a Slaanesh demon stratagem that does -1 to attack. So like you're going against boys and things that can really hurt your demonettes or any screen you have, you can take away one of their attacks. That's huge.
Yeah, a lot of potency there, a lot of tricks in the toolbox.
And then, I mean, you already had Endless Cacophony with double shooting Obliterators, or now Havocs, because Havocs now are toughness 5 and have no penalty to moving and shooting. So you can go that route. I mean, Slaanesh has so many tools right now where I'm jealous as a Khorne player.
Yeah. So, question for you, James. With the now that we have the Vigilist book and all that, was it because I know before, previous episodes we were talking about wondering what would happen, and now that you have all these options, were there things that you expected? What was the biggest surprise? And
definitely things I expected.
Yeah.
When I saw the Daemonkin stuff, and I was like, nah, this is going to be just simply demon engines and stuff with the demon key, like Obliterators possessed. I saw that coming. I didn't see the prayers coming. Kind of caught me off guard. I got super hype on it right away. But now after playing a game with them, I don't know if they're worth 100 points. Before, their aura was automatic and it was reroll failed hits, but it was automatic, and they were only 76 points. And you could actually upgrade their mace into the black mace. Now it's not a mace, has some other name to it, so you can't upgrade it into any artifact weapon. And then it's always a chance to cast your spell. You can only cast 1 prayer, so like you can't even cast multiples. There's no stratagems that change it in the game. So whatever you pick in the beginning is what you're stuck with. Like it lacks a lot of things that I thought it might have.
Yeah.
And like that's where like that Stargate thing is like, I'm thinking about it for 100 points. The only reason I don't necessarily want to go that way is all chaos get benefit of it. So you can be going against your opponent, now you just gave them a 5-up invo and re-rolling their psychic powers.
Right.
So that's like, I don't know if I want to take that either.
Yeah.
So I'm really iffy on that, but it is what I expected. Vigilus gave me more than what I expected, because they only like showed you these specialist attachments as far as like the Terminator trick, but the Renegades is where I was like the most surprised from, or all the new Warlord traits for Black Legion, all the new relics, the Renegade stratagems. I was very surprised by those.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then like the relics with the Warlord traits are what make these like crazy cool combos. Like everyone on the internet has made memes about the Chain Lord, the fact that you can give a double chain sword, Black Legion jump Lord, the teeth, this one relic chain sword, and it does -2 AP, flat 2 damage, but every wound of a 6 does an additional mortal wound. along with its normal damage. And then there's already the Warlord trait that does the same thing. So now he's doing 2 mortal wounds plus his normal damage and every wound roll of a 6. And because he's infantry, you can put vets on them, so it's 5s and 6s. So you got this dude that is like a very cheap demon prince that does mortals.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
puts down the pain train.
Yeah, so those type of things didn't exist before, and now they do. The Executioner caught me off guard. I kind of wrote him off to begin with, but he's honestly a great character that just can slice through things, especially if it's Imperium.
Yeah.
Like, Death Guard got the Plague Surgeon, and I never seen anyone run it, but it would actually be a good character in your army if you were only going against Imperium, because he worked awesome then. And this is kind of, I feel the same way about the Executioner. You go in against Imperium with that dude, he can smash.
Did you get a chance to see me and Chris playing the Khorne vs. Genestealer cult?
I got to see just part of it. I was pretty busy at that time.
There was something I was going to mention earlier, but dude, the Skull Taker's weapon, the Slayer sword or whatever, it's actually really good.
Yeah, I run him in my list.
Three damage with on 6s, 3 plus D3. That puts out some pain, and he has 4 attacks base, 5 when he charges.
Yep.
This is good.
Yeah, and then he gives the +1 to Bloodletters.
Yep, +1 to hit.
So he's a Bloodletter.
And also that, yeah.
Like, did you ever think about that? If you're going against a -1 to hit modifier, you ignore it?
Well, I hadn't came across it yet, but yeah, that would work out that way. Yeah, being that he's a 2-up naturally.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. I run him in my list.
He was way better than I expected, because like, I got my Bloodmaster. Bloodmaster is just a chump next to the Skull Taker, dude.
Yeah, no, I've contemplated that in my list. It's like, do I take the +1 to hit for my Bloodletters when they come in because I'm rocking them at 20-man units? Or do I bring the Bloodmaster in and get the +1 strength and I have a couple extra points to play with? And I was like, nah, man, I have the ability to have the +1 to hit, and he's a better killer in himself. And it's like, dude, I think in more situations it's going to work out better, because that +1 strength only helps you if you're not going against toughness 4. And the majority of the army is going to go against toughness 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I know this isn't as much of a reference point for you, but I was playing my Tzeentch Age of Sigmar yesterday, and another weapon like that was on this Gaunt Summoner, and he has this warp tongue blade. And I was like, okay, like I'm gonna take my caster here, and I'm in a desperate situation. He charged me with this like big, like 400-point behemoth. And so it's like my little psyker versus big model. I'm like, I don't want to be in combat. But then I go to look at his weapon, and if you successfully do damage, then you roll 2d6 versus the leadership of your target. And if you roll higher than their leadership, they're just gone.
Oh wow!
So it was this big behemoth, like a dude riding this like war mammoth, and it was he only had like a leadership 7. So I didn't actually get the and then as Tzeentch you get destiny dice. You roll 9 dice before the game begins, right? And you can just insert them into place. So I made sure to use my destiny dice to hit and to wound. He failed his save, and I got to roll my 2d6. And I just didn't. If I had the destiny dice to make that 8 above his leadership, I would have just slayed this like 16 wound model in one swing from a psyker. Yeah, it's craziness of Age of Sigmar, just fucking huge ups and downs.
Wait till you get your Lord Discordant. You're going to have a lot of fun with him, for the sheer fact that if you bring him as Slaanesh demons and you have the ability to have the aura from another Slaanesh demon character, like you bring a detachment, you get that advance and charge. Well, one of the specialist attachments out of Vigilus is you need demon engines in it, and then they get the special keyword, which allows them to use stratagems that give them double damage characteristics. So like basically having
the Soul Forged.
Yeah, and then you also get the +2-inch Warlord trait, and you get a strat that allows you to advance and charge. So like you can bring in, let's say, the Brass Scorpion, for instance.
Yeah.
And you can literally have it go up the table, like get an extra 2 inches of movement, advance on top of that, and then you can use that stratagem. It charges, and the Lord Discordant can keep up with it, given its extra +1.
Yeah, that's dope as hell. I do look forward to that. And just the new sweet model that's a big, crazy monster.
He has so many good rules and combos. The problem is that he just dies so fast. And, like, if you go first, you have abilities to buff him beyond nonsense. Like, basically have 24 wounds, Borp, Envol, like, neg1 to hit or neg2 to hit. Like, you can go crazy with him, make him super invincible. But you can also make them like die turn 1 if you don't go first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's where some people are bringing 2 or 3 of them, right?
Yeah, so then you end up bringing a lot of them, and then it's like, man, he's basically a Mauler Fiend in himself. And it's like, if you're running those with 3 Mauler Fiends, 3 Venom Crawlers, you have a hell of a list to deal with. And I honestly made a list just hoping that Alpha Legion trait comes back, because I send Super Stay and Possessed in your face while a pack of Demon Engines is running across the board.
Hell yeah. Well, obviously, Cultists need to be more expensive.
Cultists have literally been taken out of most of my lists. Completely taken out of. Like, my coring list only uses 30 of them as a small bubble screen, so you can't charge and wrap my vehicles turn 1.
And 30 because you have to. They took away the 40-man squad, right?
Yeah. So I'm rocking just the 1 unit.
Bitches.
And if points worked otherwise, I'd bring them smaller. Like, and when I played my test game with them, they got ignored because they're so useless now that it's like I don't even care about screening them because they're not endless anymore.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Sigh. Yeah, who moved my cheese is a old proverb, and it's like, you know, it's the cheese is still there, just they moved it.
Yes. There are plenty of combos. It's a matter of figuring out what's the right one for your meta and what the FAQ brings.
Yeah, man.
I'm very curious. It's gonna change what I paint. That's for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of good, exciting things happening right now that is pretty damn cool. But I'll throw out a little wrap up here, James. My main thought is that, hey, there's a lot of content to come. I might as well, before I leave the store today, post that video of Corn versus Gene Stealer Colt. The interview that I did with Chuck is going to be one of our first podcasts. This talk show is, I don't think, enough to be able to, there's more topics we can cover. I think we can pull in more people in the community and get some good conversations going on. So I want people to look forward to that. We're going to, I got to figure out how to get integrated with the podcast system. There's like a thing called like Player FM and things of that nature. So a lot of work to do on the content front. Lots coming from Warp Charge Gaming. We're doing events every month in multiples. So if you want to play Age of Sigmar, Warhammer Champions, Kill Team, or 40k, be on the lookout for Battlegrounds. You can catch James out in the Illinois, Wisconsin area as he travels around. Hey, maybe soon on the East Coast as we see him later this year.
I'm willing to travel.
Robles, come on out to the major event we're going to have with Coastal Wargaming on July 20th and 21st. Literally a major tournament, 64 people, 5 rounds, 2 days, top 16 going to day 2 right here at Battlegrounds. Awesome prizes, and big thanks to all our viewers out there and also our sponsors, Death Ray Designs, Worlds Overrun, Crystal Fortress, Best Coast Pairing, Game Out of You, and of course,
Battlegrounds. Keep taking fun seriously.
That's right, you heard them. See you guys next time.